Hey everyone, Harbs here, back again for Week 5 lineup review. Sorry this couldn't go up yesterday. I didn't have it ready because I was actually traveling. I was in San Francisco for the 49ers Cardinals game. Also, sorry if my voice sounds a bit weird. I am a little sick right now. Hopefully it doesn't. Anyway, let's jump right into the first contest. It's the Millie Maker. I had 10 entries in this. $20 buy-in, $1 million to first, of course. My best team ended up getting 4,180th with 180.2 points. I was really on the Green Bay and Lions game all week because Green Bay has allowed some pretty good performances to opposing quarterbacks, and obviously I was looking to gain leverage against the Falcons-Steelers game as that was going to be the most popular game of the week to target players from. I still got exposure there by getting James Conner, who is essentially in the nut spot, versus a Falcons defense that funnels passes to the running backs, and running backs have been torching them all year. Not a single one has performed below value. All have exceeded by at least like 3x to 4x their salary. And Austin Hooper as well, who is in a good spot against Pittsburgh, who's allowing a lot of points to the tight end and is also very cheap at only 3,000. Also seeing a decent amount of red zone work for that 3K price tag, and not using Vance McDonald, wherein I knew he was going to be very highly owned and not going to be running too many routes, was the play for tournaments in my opinion. Anyway, I went with Stafford to Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones completely underpriced on this slate at 4,700. He's absolutely torched the Packers. Honestly, not a very good game. Got bailed out by the one catch he has being for a touchdown, but he almost caught another one later in the game. That would have been for about 30 to 40 yards, I think, and that would have been a pretty big swing. Stafford would have gotten the touchdown, and he would have gotten another one, plus the yards. That would have been nice for this team. This is my best team across pretty much all the contests. It did okay, but that obviously would have been a big swing. I ended up trying to run it back with Aaron Jones in this team. I actually had a lot of Marquez Valdes-Scantling across most of my teams, but in this one, I decided to go with Aaron Jones, who is also in a good spot against a bad Detroit run defense. Obviously, it's pretty risky given how they've been using their running backs out of the backfield. There's Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and Ty Montgomery. So whenever there's three running backs like that in the timeshare, you want to be cautious. But for a tournament like the Millie Maker, it's all about upside, and Aaron Jones definitely has that, averaging, I think it's about 4+ yards per carry at least. So that's very good. He clearly looks the best. It's always tough knowing what the coaches are going to do, especially in Green Bay, because they're pretty bad in my opinion. But he had an okay day. The problem was the Packers were trailing the whole time, so the game script didn't really work out in Aaron Jones' favor. It was alright, though. I had a lot of Marquez Valdes-Scantling across a lot of other teams, and he did great for his 3,300 price tag. I got an Odell Beckham as a pivot from Julio, and also kind of a pivot from Antonio Brown. At 3.4%, that's all you can ask. I mean, he went off, of course, 35.38. He even threw in a touchdown pass to Saquon Barkley. Really great to grab the leverage there. When an elite guy like this is going to go this under-owned, and I'm not saying I knew he was going to be 3%, but I knew he was going to be way less owned than Julio and Antonio Brown, it's always good to try to at least try to get over the field and have a good spot to perhaps have a blow-up game like this where it can put you in a really good position if the other players can do well. Adam Thielen was just like almost a lock of the week for me because he's 7,700. He hasn't had a game under 10 targets. Like, the Vikings have to throw. It's going to be a pass-heavy game script against Philadelphia, who allows very little action running the ball, as well as the fact that their running back, Dalvin Cook, is injured, and Latavius Murray is not going to pound the ball against the Eagles, really. So, Thielen was a great play in all formats. 17.4% kind of respects that in the Millie Maker. That's fairly high for a wide receiver. And then the Ravens' defense, I thought, was probably the safest defensive play on the board, as well as far as floor, but they also had a lot of upside with Jimmy Smith back, and 11 points is pretty good. Getting the rookie quarterback in Baker Mayfield, obviously, something to target. People are overestimating these rookies a lot of the time. The Ravens are a strong defensive front, even on the road, and Cleveland did win the game after blocking one of Justin Tucker's field goals, so props to them. They look like a better team this year, but I'm still going to be targeting these rookie QBs with my defenses, especially at 2,800 here. Way too cheap. Anyway, let's look at my worst team quickly. 115.42. Wow. It was another Stafford team with Marvin Jones in it. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention David Johnson in this team. David Johnson came in a lot higher than I thought he would, 27.2%. But his price got really cheap at 6,300 for just the amount of touches he's going to see. And honestly, we got really lucky that he got 2 touchdowns here. The Cardinals really aren't using him in the way that they should be. They're running the I formation, just pounding him into the line, which is not what he's meant to do as running back. And process-wise, I'm not sure if this is a clear mistake or not, because it involves projecting what the Cardinals coach is going to do and how they're going to adjust. But I think it was thin, and especially at that ownership, I think it was probably a bad play to have David Johnson here. But I had a lot of them basically everywhere because of that price tag. Anyway, going to the worst team. It was similar. Stafford, DJ, Aaron Jones, Marvin Jones. This one had Julio instead of Odell. And then in a DD, in a decent spot against the Chiefs, this one did have Vance McDonald. I didn't completely full fade him, but I had a lot more Hooper in tournaments. And this one also had AB and the Ravens. So this one kind of went more heavy into that Steelers-Falcons game with Julio and then Vance and AB. While still keeping the Lions and the Packers correlation with Aaron Jones and Matthew Stafford and Marvin Jones. And then DD was in a fine spot against a KC defense that's just terrible, and Bortles is probably going to throw a lot more now that Fournette's out for who knows how long, possibly the foreseeable future. So anyway, that was decent. I made a small profit in the Millie Maker, which was okay. Really what you're doing when you play this is trying to hit that big first place million prize or somewhere in the top 5, really, but it's just such a swing from 5th to 1st, really. It's just you're trying to win the million. Okay, moving on to the next contest, the Tiers Wildcat, as I'm going to be reviewing every week. I actually won it this week, which was nice, for 3,500, smaller field this time, 40 players, only single entry, so it was good. I think all the decisions are pretty standard here. In Tier 1, Big Ben just had to be the choice. He was the highest raw projected QB on the slate with the highest upside, so I thought it was a pretty no-brainer play there. 65% of the field agreed. I don't think it's really worth taking a shot leveraging him there. Maybe with Matt Ryan, if you want to try to go Julio as well, that might be worth it if you think James Conner is just going to take all the touchdowns, but it's close. At this ownership, it's probably worth a shot to try to do that, but I went with Big Ben. Kirk Cousins in Tier 2. The other popular one was Deshaun Watson. I went with Kirk because I wanted to go with Thielen in Tier 4, where a lot of the other people went with McCaffrey. And so we got the correlation there. The QB, the wide receiver one, of course, and Thielen's just been so safe. And I thought Kirk would have to throw the ball a lot, which he did. He did fine, 18.14, and Thielen obviously did the best in the tier, which was great. It's pretty big having him there because I believe second had McCaffrey, third had McCaffrey, fourth had McCaffrey. Basically, all these guys had McCaffrey, so it was nice having Thielen. And I'm not saying McCaffrey was a mistake by them because they didn't play Kirk Cousins in Tier 2. They played Deshaun Watson, so it makes sense they didn't have that correlation with Kirk to Thielen like I did. So definitely McCaffrey was a solid play. I used him a decent amount this week as well, just not in tiers really. I liked Thielen more, especially paired with Kirk. Antonio Brown, obviously the clear play with Ben Roethlisberger. A lot of people went with Gurley there, which I think is fine for the floor, but I think if Big Ben has one of his ceiling games, Antonio Brown still should be the one to capitalize on it. Honestly, only getting 6 receptions for 101 yards, not the best. The 2 receiving touchdowns obviously put him over the top for 31.1, which is great. Gurley still outscored him 33.3, but I think it's great to have the correlation there. Might start getting off Antonio Brown exposure in the future a little bit because this offense is a lot more spread out than it used to be with Juju Smith-Schuster. Anyway, Tier 5, James Conner, 72.5% of the field played him. I mean, he's just in the nut spot. I don't even remember who else was in Tier 5, really. It was James Conner. You basically had to take him. I think maybe Juju was in this tier as well, but James Conner's floor is higher. Juju has great upside, but if I'm taking Antonio Brown, I don't really want to take Juju in this as well. They can both have really good games, but they don't necessarily cap each other because so much of the offense flows through AB, Big Ben, Juju, and James Conner. But I wanted more of James Conner because if they run it in, it will help with Big Ben. So I just capture all the touchdowns from the Steelers, which in the highest projected scoring game of the week is a very good strategy. Tier 6, I went with David Johnson. I considered Robert Woods in this tier as well. I thought he would go Wander owned, and I like the Rams game to kind of shoot out a little bit with the Seahawks. And the Seattle defense is vastly overrated by a lot of people still. A lot of people are coming around and realizing it's very bad now. But I ended up pivoting to David Johnson in this team because I saw that I was winning the contest and thought he had a higher floor for sure and similar ceiling with also Gurley being there. I thought getting off Woods would be nice because if Gurley had a good game, Woods probably wouldn't. So that was good. I was also at that game, so I got to see him score those 2 touchdowns, which is nice. Extra bonus there. I don't know if that impacted my decision at all. Might have, honestly, but probably not. Tier 7, Kenny Golladay. I'm surprised he came in at 7.5%. Who's the other common choice? Kelsey looks kind of good. Tyler Boyd, drew some ownership. I was debating between him, Kelsey, and Kenny Golladay as well. I really like Golladay in this spot. I was on most of the Lions wide receivers, to be honest. They were all just in such good spots. The Green Bay secondary is pretty bad. I thought Stafford was going to have a really good day. So Golladay was my slight preference over Kelsey and then Boyd, I think, in that order. I did like Boyd quite a bit. He had a disappointing game, sadly, but that's how it goes sometimes. Happy I was on Golladay. It's probably variance, getting a little run good. And then Sterling Shepard in Tier 8. I thought with Evan Ingram still out and what would possibly be a high-scoring game versus a mediocre Carolina secondary, I thought he was a good play. The other Tier 8 options, Doug Baldwin, I considered him. I didn't like that he was not doing that much in the previous week. He'd come back when he said he was all right, and I was concerned about the injury still possibly causing him trouble. It actually didn't look like it really was. Wilson just didn't throw him the ball, which was weird. He ran around almost every one of Wilson's dropbacks. D.D. Westbrook, considered him as well. Solid play by Laz gets fit there. I think he was fine. He probably has more upside than Sterling Shepard. Pretty similar. I just wanted to go with Shepard. I think he's a bit safer, honestly. D.D. was a fine play, though. A lot of people out Shepard as well. Yeah, okay, so that's the team. Ended up squeaking out the win by a little less than 2 points. Pretty lucky Deshaun Watson didn't score 2 more. I was sweating that on Sunday Night Football, but let's get to the last team. It's my cash game team as usual. This is my worst week for cash games of the season so far. I won about, I'd want to say 40 to 45% of my cash games, which is pretty bad. Ended up going Stafford to no one in this game. I played naked Stafford, which is interesting. I did that because I wasn't sure about Marvin Jones' floor with his injury. Christian McCaffrey and cash made a lot of sense because the Giants' defense is not great against running backs, and he is such a high floor projection given his receiving role, and also he's going to get most of the running back touches. He finally scored a touchdown in this game, so that was good. Little positive variance there. It was first of the season. He ended up not having a lot of catches in this game either through most of the first half, which was kind of brutal. Luckily, he kind of got there later, but 20.3 for 8,000 is not the best, but it wouldn't kill you. TJ Yeldon, I thought, was a good play in cash because at 5,600, he doesn't have to do too much. I think looking back, this might be a mistake because the Jaguars' other running back, I believe Corey Grant, got hurt, and that really boosted up Yeldon throughout the game. I think he might have played Yeldon might have played a lot less snaps, and Grant might have played like 20%, so that probably would have hurt Yeldon in this game. 26.2, obviously very good, definitely helped this team a lot, but I'm not sure if this was the best decision. I might have flipped around roster construction if possible. Still have to evaluate on that. Tyler Boyd, definitely an interesting choice here. I think he was still the right play. He's getting more target share than A.J. Green on the Cincinnati offense. He has obvious upside shown by the last 2 weeks. I didn't think he was getting too expensive. I think he was priced pretty appropriately at $5,700 against a decent Miami secondary, but I knew AJ Green was going to be shadowed, so I thought more opportunity would be open to Tyler Boyd, and the Dolphins do leave the middle of the field open a lot more. Also, Tyler Eifert was hurt, so they wouldn't be using Uzomah and Croft as much as Eifert probably in the middle of the field, even though Eifert was playing somewhat limited snaps before. Yeah, I think Boyd is a fine play here. I went Juju. I think it's probably a mistake. I should go Connor. Connor's a higher floor. You generally want to take that in cash. Honestly, yeah, just a mistake taking Juju here, I believe. Connor makes a lot more sense. I don't think I should have done that. I should have played Thielen here and flexed James Conner. Mistake taking Juju, I think. Marcus Valdes-Scantling, he was basically a lock for me in cash games. I already thought that Detroit Green Bay's game was going to be high scoring, and at only 3,300, I was just locking him in with Darius Slay shadowing Devontae Adams. I didn't really have much concern. I read some stuff about it. It seemed like a good play. Vance McDonald was going to be the chalk cash tight end. I wasn't going to get away from that, really. He could have a big game. He could have a bad game like he did. I thought playing him just made a lot of sense. 48.2% owned. I mean, if he has one of the games like he had against Tampa Bay, 24.2, I mean, that's a huge swing for cash, and there wasn't any really lock cash tight end unless you wanted to maybe pay up to get Ertz or Kelsey probably, but other than that, it was basically Vance, and then if you want to go down to Hooper, but I liked him more in tournaments, to be honest, and that's where I used him a lot more. Adam Thielen in the flex. Thielen was basically a lock for me this week. 7,700, still too cheap for him, especially the target share he's getting over 100 yards. He broke that record. He got 5 games straight for the beginning of the season, broke the record. No receiver's ever done that before. And then Ravens defense, I thought clearly the highest floor and definitely upside. So solid for cash. This team, this cash 2,835th. Yeah, this team barely cashed. And this team, also another $25 single entry, did not cash. It got 1,041st, and this paid out top 1,000, so it barely didn't cash there. And that's basically how most of cash went. First non-winning week in cash. It's been going very well so far, so I'm not really going to complain. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you're not already. Follow me on Twitter. Links in the description down below. And other than that, have a good day.